socks one more time once I passed the floating logs. So I made it back to the cairn and was officially off cliff, which took about an hour up and an hour down for me. Now for the 0.5-mile walk back to the Marcy Trail junction, and then the long, almost 7-mile trip home via the Lake Arnold Trail to Avalanche Pass, to Marcy Dam, and then to the lodge. Let's do this. Shortly after I passed the Marcy Trail junction for now my third time of the day, I went over a cool wooden bridge that I was positive I went over about 12 hours ago on my way in. However, nothing looked familiar and I couldn't find trail markers, only a number of campsite signs. I was a little out of sorts for a moment. I swear I came this way this morning, I thought. So after a few minutes of looking around and realizing, you know what, I just don't remember anymore. I walked back over the bridge, and for the first and only time on my 46er journey, I asked some campers for directions. They were enjoying their dinner, and they graciously pointed me back to the trail towards the lodge. It turns out, no, I definitely did not go over that bridge this morning. I went past it, but not over it, which explains my confusion. Oh well, at this point I could feel my body wanting to shut down both physically and mentally, but I couldn't let that happen since there was so much hiking still to go. So I fueled up with a king-size Snickers. Hungry? Why wait? Am I right? And I carried on the trail. In a few minutes, I was there. I was back for revenge. The floating logs. I've come for you. Satan's bog was before me, and it was time to conquer or be conquered. So I planned my attack. Go from this log, to that land over there, and then step over there, jump onto that, get wet knowing I'll change my socks, and then just, boom, make it to the end. So I went for it, and everything was working beautifully. Then on my final step, before I made it to land, snap. One of the logs somehow completely snapped off something, or snapped in two, and my entire leg up to my waist went in, and my front leg, however, was already on land, thank God, and I grabbed onto the tiniest little root that could, this little root, and I held on for dear life. This little engine that could root kept me from falling backwards, full body, into the bog. Without that root, I would have become 100% submerged in that bog. Goodbye cell phone and my dignity. But thank the Lord that little root held strong, and I pulled myself up with only one leg going in, though it really went in. Like up to my waist went in. Just the one leg, though. After that experience, I kept walking because I said to myself, I remember the bog being a lot longer this morning, so there has to be more sections of it because this felt too quick. But I kept walking and kept walking and kept walking, and clearly I was past it. So at that point, I was able to relax. So I changed my socks and I carried on. I eventually passed a younger couple just before the Colden Trail split, and I think they thought I was a little weird because I was that solo hiker that was all too excited to see another hiker and chat. After all, it had been a long day solo in the woods, and in my head at this hour, I didn't expect to see anybody else on the trail back to the lodge because nobody would be coming in the opposite direction at this hour. But they were hiking into the Feldspar lean-to for the night. They had minimal gear with them, so hopefully it was available, but being a weekend in July and at that hour, it's very likely that lean-to was already occupied, but who knows? Hopefully it worked out. And thanks to those two for engaging me in conversation because I was definitely borderline insane at that point in the day. Once I came to the Colden Trail split, I even had a split-second thought of, I'm at the trail for Mount Colden. Do I dare? Do I dare try it right now? Fortunately, I still had some sense of intelligence and said, no, leave it for another day. Plus, you'll probably die on it today because your body hates you right now. So I kept hiking and went down that super long gradual stretch of trail from this morning involving all the rock hopping, which was killing my feet at that point because my feet were just toast from the day. Once I made it back to the Avalanche Pass junction, I had a great conversation with a camper who was taking in the evening air, standing on that nice bridge I mentioned earlier in the day over the Marcy Brook. Again, I likely came off as an insane person, all too excited to talk with someone, but he was alone too, and we had a great conversation. I asked him why he chose this campsite out of curiosity over the other ones, since he was planning to hike Cliff and Redfield the following day, and it's quite a bit of a walk in from where he was staying. To which he responded, bears. Bears, I said? Yeah, there's been a lot of reports of bears and campsites up there this summer, and even bears taking people's packs at their campsites. I had no idea. And I thought probably Sasquatch, not bears, but who knows. Soon we parted ways and I was on the Avalanche Pass Trail heading towards Marcy Dam when I got a text from my dad that said, "Are you back on level ground yet?" I responded, "Yes, I'm almost at Marcy Dam, then I still have 2.4 miles back to my car, but I'm off the mountains." Man, I still wasn't even close to my car. So I just kept on walking, very slowly might I add, slowly but steadily, but slowly, since I was dying on the inside and the outside. Then I saw the Marcy Dam campsites and suddenly had a huge surge of energy because I was at the dam and about to tackle the final portion of the day, a simple walk back to the lodge from Marcy Dam. The sun was almost down and I said to myself, I refuse to take off my backpack to get my headlamp. I will not hike out with my headlamp. No, I'm going to make it before it's too dark. Yeah, okay, idiot. I'm sure that'll happen. So I got to the dam and mustered all the energy I could to pick up my pace slightly as I headed to the lodge. I made it all the way to the Algonquin trail split before I had to give in and get my headlamp out, as it had been pitch black at this point for a good 5 minutes or so. And I still had a mile to go. So I took out the headlamp, took it out, I gave in, popped it on, finished my day in the dark. It started in the dark and it ended in the dark. I made it back to the trailhead and signed out at 9:30 p.m. 17 hours, 27 miles of hiking, 5 high peaks including the tallest, 4th tallest, and 7th tallest high peaks. What a day. While I was feeling very accomplished and proud I knocked out this day, I definitely know now that adding those peaks wasn't a wise choice, but thankfully I made it out okay without any issues. Having not eaten real food since 11:30, I was pretty famished. And like after many hikes, I said to myself, I'm going to McDonald's. Just want to let everyone know, I don't eat McDonald's nearly as much as it seems like in this podcast, but for some reason, after hiking, that's what I want. So I got in my car, socks off and Crocs on, and started driving to McDonald's in Lake Placid. Then as I pulled up to the drive-thru, I heard nothing. Hello? Hello? I'm saying into the machine. There's no way they're closed at 9:45 on a summer night, I thought to myself. So I drove around to go inside, and taped on the front door was a handwritten note in Sharpie that read, "Closed at 8 p.m. tonight. Sorry for the inconvenience." What? What? You have got to be kidding me. How does this keep happening to me? So I decided, like after Algonquin, okay, I'm going to Saranac Lake, and they'll probably be open. So I drove like a race car driver to make it there before they close. Drove around to the drive-thru, and then I heard the most angelic, glorious sound of my life. Hi, welcome to McDonald's. What can I get for you today? They're open. Let's just say I hit that drive-thru pretty hard that night. And then a few minutes later, I pulled into my driveway and very slowly walked up my stairs into my house, where my wife was there to greet me after my longest day in the woods. So long that I couldn't even sleep for a few hours that night after I got home because my body didn't want to shut down. But I accomplished the day. Another extremely successful day in the woods where I summited Marcy, Skylight, Gray, Cliff, and Redfield for high peaks numbers 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32, allowing me to surpass my stretch goal for the month of getting into the 30s on my quest to summit all 46 Adirondack high peaks in one summer. This hike would finish off July for me, where I totaled 28 high peaks this month, averaging almost a high peak a day. I told myself after this one I'd take a break for a couple weeks to recover, mentally and physically, though I'd end up back on the trail to tackle Colden and Marshall just 5 days later, so clearly that didn't last very long. But thanks for coming along with me on this monster 17-hour, 27-mile, 5-peak day. Next time on 46 of 46, I'll revisit a huge chunk of today's hike on the way up Colden and Marshall and experience Avalanche Pass for the first time. That's next time on 46 of 46. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock hop, and if you carry it in, carry it out. See you on the trails.